Problems at the Carlton Football Club, facing the biggest crisis in its 116-year history. But the problems were solved, and, as in every football match, there were winners and there were losers. The winner was President-elect Ian Rice, who won the vote and won the night. From the moment he stepped on stage, it was obvious he had the numbers, and he told the crowd what they wanted to hear. Among the early speakers was former Carlton captain coach John Nicholls, who flew in from Adelaide for the showdown meeting. After Nicholls, it was the other former captain coach, Alex Jesaulenko, who took the stage, to the cheers of a big section of the crowd. But apart from the cheers, it was a sad night for Jezza, the man who quit the premiership side for the Harris cause and lost. Last night's big loser was, of course, George Harris himself. It was his supporters who called the meeting in the first place, in a brazen attempt to return Harris as Carlton president. But on the night, they lost by 1,241 votes to 480, ending all hopes of George Harris regaining control of the Blues for this year anyway.
Well, he just walked out and said to me, "Well, darling, that's it. 13 years, finished." I felt so terribly hurt for him that people who have slapped him on the back for 13 years and said, "We love you, Jezza," could sit in that hall and boo him. I just thought it was disgraceful.
And so it was the end of an era for George Harris and the man who supported him, Alex Jesaulenko. As Rob reports, Jezza stood by his word to the last.
His departure today follows the club's rejection of Jezza's compromise offer to come back as captain coach and chairman of the match committee. That was one offer the Blues just had to refuse, but they parted friends.
The conditions set out by both parties we couldn't agree on, and I thank Mr. Rice for saying that they won't stand in my way of a clearance.
Has any club approached you at the moment to join them, Alex?
No, not as yet.
Have you any clubs in mind that you'd like to go to?
No, and until all the offers come along, I'll just sit down and discuss them with the clubs concerned.
And who would be in the running at the moment there?
I can't say. That's entirely up to them. We won't be standing in Alex's way, that's all I can say.
Lindsay Fox has told me that he's very interested in getting Alex. Have you spoken to Lindsay?
I played tennis with him yesterday, and he indicated, yes, he felt that Alex would do a great job for St Kilda.
Well, Jezza will be more than playing tennis with Lindsay Fox, I can tell you. I spoke with Lindsay late this afternoon, and he told me he's meeting with Jezza tomorrow morning.
Well, gentlemen, Alex Jesaulenko is now safe. We hope to get a clearance from Carlton one day next week, and Alex will start training with us as soon as that clearance comes through.
Channel 10's live eye cameras were at Moorabbin to record exclusively what most people remember as the moment Jezza symbolically ended 13 years as a Blue.
Only a few moments ago, the respective presidents, Lindsay Fox and Ian Rice, announced publicly, and very happily I think, that Jezza is now officially a saint. And now the moment that all saints have waited for, the official handing over of the Guernsey by Jeff Cunningham. Jeff has agreed to give up his journey, the Guernsey, that famous number 25, to Alex. Over to you, Jeff.
Alex, I'd like to welcome you to the St Kilda Football Club. Although I've got some affection for number 25, I'd like you to have it.
Thank you very much, Jeff, and this just shows the spirit that's at St Kilda at the moment.
Well, it certainly was an historic moment, but for Jesaulenko, there was more controversy to follow at St Kilda.
Alex Jesaulenko, the man who walked out of Carlton 4 months ago, is the new coach of St Kilda. Mike Patterson was sacked today after just 2 losing matches, and club officials appointed Jezza for 2 years. Today's announcement stunned the football world, which expected Patterson to hold the job at least until the end of this football season. There was little warning when club chairman Lindsay Fox called the news conference and explained why Patterson was out and Jesaulenko was in.
Mike's had 2 years, as you know, and we continued Mike's contract on for the start of the 3rd year. And I felt it was crazy having last year's premiership coach here as a player and not really giving the true value of what he was worth in the aspect of coaching ability. And I discussed this morning, and you now have the result.
You said he resigned. Did you ask him to resign?
Yes, I asked Mike to resign.
There were some big stories out of Moorabbin this year, but the one St Kilda fans will want to recall most was their first victory under new coach Alex Jesaulenko. Again, Rob Astbury was on hand to record exclusively the jubilation.
Jezza, can we just have you for a few seconds? Lindsay, we're on television at the moment. Congratulations, Jezza. How do you feel?
Oh, fantastic. It's good that these guys know they can win. And it's about time they started winning.
Well, Lindsay, it's your birthday today. You couldn't have a better birthday present.
It's fantastic. It's what it's all about.
Another aspect of that match, which will be long remembered, concerned Phil Carman, who was reported for striking a St Kilda player and assaulting an umpire. The charge was sustained and Carman received a 20-week suspension, the heaviest in 35 years. Early next morning at his home, Phil spoke to Rob in a rare personal interview with the media.
This morning at his Lilydale property, Phil was reflecting on a dramatic 48 hours that could still change his whole life. Now with his third VFL club, Fabulous Phil, as he is known in the football world, is recognised as a volatile competitor. But his close friends will tell you there is another side to his personality. So today, how did he feel about the sensational outcome of last night's tribunal hearing?
It came as a big shock.
Well, Phil, what are you going to do now? What is your immediate football plans?
Well, I meet with the Essendon club president this afternoon, but I am contracted to them for another 2 years, and naturally I'd like to remain in the VFL.
Do you hold any resentment towards any particular person?
I'd rather not comment on that.
Phil, can I ask you if you have any regrets?
Oh, only for the Essendon Football Club, particularly to Barry Davis. He put a lot of faith in me. I was looking forward to sort of helping him and showing a lot of other people that I could still play the game, and yeah, I feel, you know, very badly for the club and for Barry.
During the year, we heard a lot about miracle knee surgery. It involved a revolutionary piece of equipment that allowed players to recover more quickly than ever before. Just 2 hours after Peter Knights underwent one of those operations, Rob was the first to knock on his door. Hospital door, of course.
Yes, Rob, pretty groggy, a lot better than I was a couple of hours ago though, but not too bad. A little bit of pain, but pretty sleepy, that's about all.
I've got some good news for you. The doctors told me that you'll be out in 3 days' time, but how long before you start training? That's what the footy fans want to know.
Oh, that's tremendous if I'll only be in, 3 or 4 days. Well, Mr. Bartlett said that I should be able to resume training in about 6 weeks, I would hope. Possibility of playing again in about 8, I suppose.
Quite often, to get to the heart of a story, our intrepid reporter elected to get involved other than in the call of duty. On many occasions during the year, footballers in the news cooperated with Rob to allow him to present a different side of the footy heroes. This year, Eyewitness News introduced a new segment called High Mark. Not only did it guarantee football fans a minimum of 2 VFL stories each weeknight, but it also provided Rob with the opportunity to present a football editorial. A classic example was when Rob highlighted how the Sydney media had reacted to the VFL's Sydney invasion.
As far as Sydney-siders were concerned, the game between Collingwood and South Melbourne was just another football match, except, of course, it was Sydney's chance to see the great Magpies in action, something they've waited for a long time. The Sydney media gave the game a tremendous build-up, which is really amazing. But then again, you didn't have to look far to realise there was something more to this than meets the eye.
As the players and the football fans from both clubs made final preparations for the bounce of the ball and the commencement of the big game, the political aspect, important as it may be, was the furthest thing from their minds.
Except for the obvious surrounds of the Sydney cricket ground, the game may have been played on Victorian soil. The crowd was colourful and the match entertaining. For the VFL, it was a great success. But what about the future for football in Sydney? Well, you're from Sydney. Would you like to see South Melbourne come and play and be based in Sydney?
I certainly would. We've been to every match in Sydney that's come up here, and I think it'll be a good thing for Australian rules football.
Would you support South Melbourne if they came to Sydney?
My word.
What would they call the Sydney team if it was South Melbourne?
The Harbour Bashers. I don't know. It's got to be called South Melbourne, I suppose.
Not the Crows.
Oh, no, not the Crows. Do you want me to do one for you?
No matter what they're called, there is little doubt there is a very big future for a VFL team in Sydney. And although it's far from cut and dried, the odds on that team wearing a red and white Guernsey are now very, very short. From the Sydney Cricket Ground, this is Rob Astbury for Eyewitness News.
During his long career, Carl Dittrich's relations with the media were sparked with controversy, but the big man never declined to be interviewed by Rob. This was Dittrich's last game.
Well, 18 years is almost, almost a generation of football. We've got to